So I'm gonna go shoot some nighttime, and I'm taking you guys with me. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm so sorry if you can hear the construction. It's Montreal construction. I can't get rid of it. I'm at this spot that I've been wanting to shoot for a very long time, and essentially it's this pier that's right across from the Farine Five Roses Factory. This factory has been speaking to me ever since I've arrived to Montreal. I've been wanting to shoot it. It's like a national landmark. I just hadn't had the chance to shoot it. So I figured, you know what, best way to start a vlog, or best shoot to take you on for the first time, is this factory right here. So let me talk to you about my frame. I'm surrounded by a bunch of lampposts in this pier, so I plan to compose a shot that has me standing below a lamppost in the foreground, and then the factory would be lit in the background. If you saw the frame earlier, it was way too wide. There was like so much going on in the foreground that the factory just gets, you know, sunk in the background. So what we want to do is I'll switch to my 50 to bring that attention just to me, the factory, and the lamppost, and then take a couple shots there. As I was setting up my shot, I noticed that the factory sign turned on and off. I timed it and found that the lights turn on and off every 2 to 3 seconds. So I've set up a time interval in my camera to match the time it takes the lights to go on and off, in hopes that I can capture different variations of the light sign. One thing that's such a struggle is trying to center yourself without having someone to tell you whether you're here or not. So I end up having to make like marks on the gravel. Yeah, that's just the struggle of shooting on your own. Okay, so a little bit of an update. I took a couple of photos and I like it, I dig it, I like what I see. A few things to notice, because there's a lot of lampposts around and I have one that's right in my frame, I have to be careful with how much I close my aperture, because I don't want to create any starbursts. So I ended up shooting at f4 and just like faster shutter speeds. The second thing I noticed is when I compose, or when I expose rather, to me, the skyline or the background ends up being super dark, and I don't want to like super brighten it up in post. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna compose for myself, compose for the background, and then see if I can stitch them. Yeah, we'll go from there. That's essentially the update of what has taken place so far. So I think I'm done. I got a couple of shots with me in the frame, with me not in the frame, and with the lights flickering like on and off. So hopefully I can create something in post, and we'll see what happens. So I'll talk to you guys when I'm back in front of the computer, and we'll edit the photos together. All right, talk to you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so I'm back home now. I've actually been back, let's be honest, been back home for quite some time, but I haven't really gone into editing the photo. But now that I have had some time on my hands and I've gone into editing it, this is what the final result looks like. That was pretty neat, right? Okay, well, let me show you the step-by-step, or walk you through the whole workflow, the whole editing process on how I brought this photo to life. I shot this photo in HDR. I shot this photo with 5 different exposure stops, and I merged them all into Photoshop. So with the whole photos merged together, this is what it looks like. Before we jump into the editing, there are a few notes that I want to mention about this particular image. The first thing, upon looking at it, it is way too warm. It's way too loud in the foreground, and my attention doesn't really go to the background as much as it does to me standing in the foreground, or just in the foreground in general. The next thing was the sign of the factory. I noticed that it was flickering and it was turning on and off. So I wanted to make sure that somehow the eye, or anyone looking at the image, their eyes would go directly to that sign. So when I do play around with it, the attention is drawn there right away. So those were things to like keep in mind before I even get into the editing. So with that being said, I took it to Lightroom, and the first thing what I did was I cooled down the image as much as I can. It was way too yellow, way too warm, so I cooled it down as much as I can, and I added a little bit of a green tint to it. Now, because this photo was shot again in HDR, I didn't really have to do that much correction when it came to my highlights and my contrast. It was very, very minimal corrections I had to do for my basic settings. Moving on to the S-curve, all I did was really just a subtle S-curve, nothing too significant, just a very subtle S-curve in my RGB channel. And I just added a little bit of a blue in my highlights and set up the shadow in my blue channel. Now moving on to my HSL, the next thing I did was I again wanted to bring the attention to the sign as much as I could. And the sign here is red. So I desaturated all of the colors and just added a pop of red in my saturation, and I then muted all of the colors in my foreground because I wasn't really vibing with that yellow or that green that was in my foreground, so I muted those colors as much as I could. With the color grading, there's nothing much that I had to do. I really just added a little bit of blue in my midtones and my highlights. I added a little bit of orange or yellow in my shadows, and not that much of a difference to be noticed if I'm being very honest. So that's really it with the basic adjustments. Like you can see the before and the after. There's not that much that was like you can notice that was done in the image. What really helped me bring that photo to life is using my graduated filters as well as my radial filters. So the first thing I did was I added radial filters that surrounded me as well as graduated filters leading towards me, and the purpose of them was to darken that area as much as I can. So I dropped the exposure, I dropped the contrast, I dropped the shadows just as much as I could so I can mute and darken that area. Now with the complete opposite to that, I wanted to brighten and bring the attention to the factory, and I wanted to bring the attention to the sign. So I used two major radial filters just to brighten up that top part of the image, and I also added a lot of blue tones because I really wanted the night to be more blue than it was yellow. So I just added as much blue tones as I possibly could without really overkilling it. If you take a look now, when I use my radial filters and my graduated filters, this is the result. Versus without them, this is what it looks like. So you can see one really emphasizes the background, one emphasizes the factory, and then one just like looks like a regular photo of a pier, and then there's a thing in the background. So you can see how radial filters are huge, and graduated filters as well. They're huge in helping you bring that photo to life. The photo right now as it is, it's pretty decent, it's done. I can just post it as is and I'd be happy, but I just wanted to add a little bit of a sprinkle to the image. I normally like to add a little bit of sprinkle to my night shots. So I took it to Photoshop, and the first thing I did was I used my custom star brush to just add the realistic stars into the sky. And then I used a stock image of a moon and I added it there. And once I was done all that, I just added a nice little soft glow to the overall image to give it a nice dreamy surreal look. Now, if you guys are wondering how you can add realistic stars, or if you're wondering how you can add that glow effect in Photoshop, just be on the lookout for a tutorial that I'm going to be dropping pretty soon that will show you exactly how I achieved those in Photoshop. And that's everything that I had to do in Photoshop. Like if you keep it as is, you can just post it on Instagram. The photo is good as is. Be happy with it. But I wanted to add a little bit of a even more sprinkle onto it. So if you recall, I took multiple different variations of the image, one with the sign turned on and one with the sign turned off. So I kept it both in Photoshop, and I made sure to like mask each letter at a time, as well as each word at a time, to have the different variations of them turned on and off. And I just took it to Premiere Pro and added a sound effect, separated the different frames, and then this is what it looks like. And that was it. I'm super happy, like I said, with the end result. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you enjoy seeing the process. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this of me just going out and shooting. If you have like a certain thing that you'd like to see me go shoot, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And that's it for me. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. And until then, I will talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.